All right, good Monday evening, August 26th, 2024. We're nearing the end of summer. Kids are going back to school, and yeah, it's that time of year already. College football officially started this past weekend. Georgia Tech upset Florida State. Quite the unexpected outcome of that game. And then we got, a whole slew of other games coming up this weekend. NFL starts next week. Before you know it, it'll be hunting season. It's the best time of year. But we're here for other things. We have an election coming up, and I don't really want to talk about the election this minute because I have other more pressing issues like this story here from, that's not what I was trying to show you. This is it here. So from Elon Musk's Twitter page is a letter from the Mark Zuckerberg himself to Jim Jordan. And in this letter from the House Judiciary GOP Twitter or X page, Mark Zuckerberg openly admits to censoring based off of, during COVID and during the Hunter Biden laptop story based off government pressure. I know. Pause for shock, because I feel the same way. They did what? They censored people? Not Facebook. So this letter may be somewhat hard to read, but I'll read it for you. So, to the Honorable Jim Jordan, Chairman, Committee on the House Judiciary, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I've taken away from this process. Now, there's a lot to talk about right now around around how the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta, and I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, whose administration? The Biden administration, including the White House, repeat that, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think that we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. Now, in another situation, the FBI warned us about potential Russian disinformation operation. So just in case you're not familiar with the context, Zuckerberg did talk about this on Joe Rogan's show at some point. I don't know the date of the episode, but he did discuss this one. The Biden, Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family. We sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It has since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation, and in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. For instance, we no longer temporarily demote things in the U.S. while waiting for fact checkers. Apart from content moderation, I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. The infamous Zuckerbucks. The idea here was to make sure local election jurisdictions across the country had the resources they needed to help people vote safely during a global pandemic. I made these contributions through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. They were designed to be nonpartisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analyses I've seen showing otherwise,
I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the other. My goal is to be neutral and not play a role one way or another, or to even appear to be playing a role. So I don't plan on making similar contributions this cycle. Respectfully, Mark Zuckerberg, founder, chairman, CEO of Meta Platforms. And you have it here from it's from One Hacker Way in California. Okay, so what do we think of this letter? Well, it shocks me in no way whatsoever that they were under pressure from the Biden administration and from the FBI. When he said the White House explicitly too, not surprising, somewhat just interesting to hear him openly admit it. You know, he's clearly regretful of his decisions. Is it sincere? I don't know. Excuse me for drinking water. My throat, it's been bugging me. And I'm still recovering from a stupid ear infection that I've had forever. It's called vestibular neuritis. So what happened was a virus attacked my inner ear and it's inflamed constantly. This could take like weeks to go away. So I'm trying to tough this out to record. And if I do have to cut these short, that's why I get really kind of sick sitting up. It's a really annoying thing. It's been making my life miserable. Like I like to sit at my desk and do my research and my work, and I can't do it without feeling like I'm on a cruise ship. Like my whole house is moving underneath my feet. It's awful. So, and then I have this feeling now like something's stuck in my throat all the time. It's great. It just won't go away. That's just virus related. Kids are sick, so now I get to get sick. So talking about this story with Zuckerberg and Meta and the FBI and the Biden administration, I'm not shocked at all. We talked about this. We didn't talk about this, but people were talking about this many years ago now, a whopping about 3 years ago now. And if you recall, during that time, Joe Rogan was under attack because of he was having on people like Robert Malone. And what would happen was Jen Psaki, who was then Biden's press secretary, go up and talk about, oh, we're pressuring she called it Spotify. We're pressuring Spotify to essentially censor Joe Rogan or combat COVID-19 misinformation, which ironically, all of the things that had been deemed COVID-19 misinformation turned out to be true. Imagine that. But, according to like our future potential vice president of the United States, misinformation is not protected under free speech. Tim Walz said those words. So, that's good to know, because I can assure you about 99% of the time, things the government calls misinformation is either they'll be wrong about it, they're flat out lying about it. They want to be able to determine what is misinformation and what is not. Just like what is hate speech and what is not. You're seeing this now in countries that are threatening to extradite Americans who talk about this issue. Disgusting. Speaking of censorship, we have this story from this has been going around, for a while now, since the weekend, and the founder of Telegram, the encrypted messaging app, apparently, just for the record, apparently Telegram is social media. News to me. I know you can make stories and start groups and channels and things like that, but I don't consider it social media. I guess, what is social media? What is social media? Let's have this philosophical discussion. Just kidding, because I don't really care. But the point of this is that Telegram is encrypted. Now, I was reading, a family member bought me a book for Christmas by Bill O'Reilly. I mean, okay, listen, I'm not like 65 years old, so I don't really, I'm not really like all about Bill O'Reilly and Bill O'Reilly during his heyday, but he writes these books, a series of books. I'm a historian, by the way, so that's my profession, historian and a writer, and so I read lots of history books. And so they got me these books on history, and Bill O'Reilly writes these books they're called the Killing series, right? He's got Killing Jesus, Killing Patton, Killing the Mob, Killing, you name it, and Killing Lincoln, things like that. And he wrote a book called Killing the Terrorists, I think. Whatever. So, and I don't know how to feel about, I am a ardent anti-interventionist. I am anti-war to that degree. The war on terror, I think, is stupid. I just never. It's just been nothing but a thing to benefit the military-industrial complex. So I have no really, I'm not pro war on terror. Okay, but I thought the book, somebody got it for me. I read it. It would be interesting, and I realized that Telegram, going back for years now, has been a way for terrorists to communicate with each other over encrypted communications. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't really care all that much because if it's not in the United States of America, I don't really care. Like, it's not my problem. And either way, of course, apps like Telegram, if they're being used for terrorists to communicate, well, they're going to get targeted, aren't they? And so we have this story where the CEO of I'm looking at it on the Brave browser, but the CEO of Telegram, who is I believe he is citizenship in France, Pavel Durov, the Russian-born CEO and co-founder of Telegram, has been detained in France. The company says it has done nothing wrong and abides by EU law. He claims he has nothing to hide, and the app operates according with laws of the European Union. He's a 39-year-old Russian-born billionaire who co-founded the app with his brother Nikolai, who was arrested at Le Bourget, I don't know how you say that, airport near Paris, after his private jet arrived from Azerbaijan on Saturday night. It's headquartered in Dubai, and its moderation was within industry standards and constantly improving. The statement said, the Telegram CEO, Pavel Durov, has nothing to hide and travels frequently in Europe. It is absurd to claim that a platform or its owners are responsible for abuse of that platform. We're awaiting a prompt resolution of the situation. Telegram is with you all, it added. The French authorities have not commented on Durov's arrest, as is common practice for a criminal investigation in France. But local media have reported an arrest warrant was issued, alleging Telegram has been used for money laundering, drug trafficking. Okay, so of course they're going to say that's the case, right? And sharing of content linked to sexual abuse of children. I think everything is can be used for those purposes, including text messages via your regular cell phone provider. Durov, who was dual French and United Arab Emirates citizenship, founded the app in 2013 with his brother, who's an expert in encryption. So now, guy gets arrested, and they're alleging they're not properly moderating the content on Telegram, and he's claiming, well, we are, because we've taken a different stance on it. And either way, how would they know if he is or he isn't, unless they're somehow spying on this stuff? And there's no way to really know that they are, if terrorists are communicate using this app or whatever. Their version of extremism is, you'll see in a minute. I'll show you what they're talking about here. It's not what you and I would consider normally extremism. Sorry if my spinner here is distracting. I have mad ADD, so I have to fidget and spin. So this is a post earlier from Macron, the president of France, prime minister of France, whatever he is. He's probably a colossal d-bag, because one would have to be this guy. Come on, work your thing. Let's see, Emmanuel Macron. He's the président de la République française. All right, let's see here. Let me pull this up for y'all. This is a statement from him. Now, mind you, let's all just jump in our time machines, go back to 2020, and what was life like under this guy during the COVID-19 pandemic? Were they a country that allowed free expression and allowed you to go and live in your life? No. Do they allow free expression and stuff in France? Not really. So I was there in 2019. I don't know if you guys if anybody remembers this, but there were the yellow shirt protests going on at the time, as what they call, or yellow vests or something. There were violent protests. And I came in, it was 2019, so right before COVID. Summer of 2019, I was there right around the 75th anniversary of D-Day. I was a grad student working on my master's at the time, and I went there to study in Normandy. It was phenomenal. It was an amazing place, beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go out there, I highly recommend it. Normandy is awesome. They love Americans, and the people. It's just a great place. So I was there, and in Paris, of course, you like get off the airport, get on a bus, go to the train station where we're going to take it to a French town called Bayeux, which is out by Normandy, which is in Normandy, I guess. And you get on, and you see when we think of cops in the States, you think of guys that come in with maybe a baton, cuffs, badge, and a gun. No, these guys are like full blown BDUs with machine guns strapped up. I mean, they're ready to go. They call them, is it the gendarmerie? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Sorry guys. I promise I'm not stupid. They didn't give me a PhD just because they felt bad for me. Gendarmerie. Yes. Gendarmerie. My wife can speak French. She's really good at pronouncing things. And what I've been told is to pronounce something in French, imagine what you think French would sound like, and you usually get it right. Gendarmerie sounds like something that would be in French. Or gendarmerie. Either way, these guys are like completely strapped up, ready to go, full-blown military guys, and they do not square around over there, okay? And those protesters, stuff happens, they will take you down, okay? So let's go back and think 2021, let's think COVID, let's think COVID passports, let's think all that fun times, okay? Just the greatest era. Now, if you had to go back in time, let's say you had to relive that, what if you woke up today and it was like March of 2020 again? What would you do? I could never go through it again. I remember renting. I was in grad school. I was working on my master's. I was in a basement. So our school got canceled for the rest of the semester. I was finishing up my last semester of my master's before I started my PhD. And I remember having to do all my homework and turn it in, do all my reading and turn in all my presses and stuff, and renting a room in the basement of a house with their kids upstairs that were home from school, and just how depressing it was. And it was in Michigan where you couldn't do anything, and just mad lockdown scenario, right? And just how depressing it was to be stuck in this basement watching YouTube videos and stuff all day, and it was depressing. I would not ever be able to do it again. Okay, let's go back to that time period. How were the French treating their citizens who were not abiding by the law? Were they being understanding and giving them a warning or a slap on the wrist? I'm gonna let you go ahead and do your own research on that one, because let me give you a hint. The answer is no. So here is this guy who I don't know how this works with the French elections. Sorry, I'm not trying to make this suspenseful, but I want to give you accurate information. So this guy, he is 1977. Okay, so he's been president since 2017. I don't know how long of a term they serve. I don't know anything about this place. All I know is that they lose in war. Just kidding. All right. They're good at waving their white flags. I take that. I'm just kidding, of course. I'm very, very much, as a military historian, I'm very much sympathetic to the World War I French situation, and why in World War II they didn't get involved. And now that they didn't help us in Iraq, understandable, because that whole thing was stupid. Let's see. It doesn't say. Turn. Okay, so he was inaugurated for a second term in 2022. Okay, so this guy becomes president again after all the draconian measures in France at the time. And I don't know France's elections. I'm not going down this road. Okay, let's just say it's amazing that the people that were in charge during COVID and all the crap they did to people, they're still in charge. In the United States, that's a huge problem. Governors, look at Tim Walz, Gretchen Whitmer, you name it. These Gavin Newsom, these people are still holding down the fort after what they did to people. They ruined our lives. Now this is Macron. I've seen false information. I don't know what that is. I've seen false information regarding France following the arrest of Pavel Durov. France is deeply committed to freedom of expression, communication, to innovation, and to the spirit of entrepreneurship. It will remain so. Bullshit. In a state governed by the rule of law, freedoms are upheld within a legal framework, both on social media and in real life. To protect citizens and respect their fundamental rights, it's up to the judiciary in full independence to enforce the law. The arrest of the president, Telegram on French soil, took place as part of an ongoing judicial investigation. It is no way a political decision. It is up to the judges to rule on the matter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is complete 110% crap. There is no way you're going to sell me that you guys are arresting a guy who gives you an encrypted app that you're claiming that people use to communicate doing illicit things, and you're arresting him because of, any other reason than you can't spy on it. Because they're claiming, oh, well, there's drug trafficking and there's blah, 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 blah. And there's all, okay, well, if he's cleaned up the act and he said he's moderating, and you're like, well, you haven't been moderating. Well, how do you know? Are things going on in your country that people are using Telegram to communicate for that you would know of? Or are you spying on people? Are you hacking into their apps and, people can hack your encrypted stuff. I'm sure WhatsApp is completely compromised. Signal, I know Tucker Carlson, when he went to Russia to talk to Putin, the US government had hacked his Signal account. Like, these encrypted apps are not 100% safe. So I'm sure they have their ways. But you're going to tell me you arrested this guy. And there's an ongoing investigation and what have you. And the EU sends out a letter several weeks ago to Elon Musk before he has Donald Trump on, saying, you better not hear this or you're going to be in big trouble, because we have hate speech laws here. You can't incite violence or whatever. I don't know what the whole excuse was. It was this thing where they were like, well, you can't have Trump on because we don't like him, and that's against the rules. It's hate speech if we have to listen to a guy we don't like. So you better listen to us or you're in big trouble, Betty. Okay. That's what they said. And the same rules apply in this situation, where we can't have things like Telegram because people may be doing hate speech on there. People may be saying things that we don't like, and we can't have that. We can't have that. So that's where I think we are with this. Now this, excuse me, was another part of the article to continue that I was talking about earlier. Some governments have criticized Telegram for a lack of content moderation earlier this month. I'm not having a stroke. Earlier this month, in the wake of riots in England, Government Minister Jim McMahon told the BBC he was concerned by a list of immigration lawyers with the phrase, "No more immigration," being circulated on Telegram. Not the horror. Telegram has around 1 billion users and is particularly influential in Russia, Ukraine, and other countries formerly members of the Soviet Union, but has been growing in Western Europe and North America. It's ranked as one of the world's biggest social media platforms after Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, and WeChat. Hey, look at that. All the things that are compromised by other governments. Durov's arrest prompted a warning from the owner of Rumble, my guy, Chris Pavlovsky, who said free speech in Europe was under attack. He wrote on a social media platform, X, "I've just safely departed from Europe. France has threatened to Rumble, and now they have crossed the red line by arresting Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, reportedly for not censoring speech. Rumble will not stand for this behavior. We use every legal means available to fight for freedom of expression, a universal human right. We are currently fighting in the courts of France, and we hope for Pavel Durov's immediate release." Elon Musk reposted Pavlovsky's post, even though they're direct rivals. The Russian government also expressed outrage at Durov's arrest, accused the West of having double standards on freedom of speech. Okay, so
I thought this was interesting. So this is another part of the article here. In 2019, the French Gendarmerie Forensic Department, I'm not going to read that, and the C3N cybercrime unit hacked into the servers of Sky ECC, a Canadian-owned encryption network in France, in this place here, Roubaix, near Lille. The following year, they hacked into EncroChat servers. Okay, so like I said, this is not like, it's not like they're just completely innocent and just minding their own business in this whole situation. They've done this before. Now, the reason why it's of concern is because people in the UK were using the term no more immigration. Immigration lawyers, mind you. So the term no more immigration justifies that's some type of extremism to say that. You're not even allowed to say you don't want more of that thing in your country. That's you're targeted for that. What a joke. This is what it's come down to. We have come to an era of complete, like this rise of authoritarians, unlike anything I've seen in more recent history. So you have, of course, you have the, all right, so think about World War I was the end of the old style of leadership. The imperial era of Europe ended with World War I. You saw the German Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ottoman Empire, all these kingdoms, everything, they collapse. Russian Empire, etc. Right? End of that. And what happens is that paves the way for what? A rise of dictatorships and authoritarians. Well, you're dealing with people that were used to that type of leadership before. But like, as far as recent memory goes, for the Western world to be extremely, to see this rise of authoritarian like tendencies is pretty insane. It is very, very concerning to me, because there is clearly a generation, this is my personal opinion, my thoughts on it, there's a generation of people coming to power now who would very much like to police thought, speech, and they want to be authoritarian in nature. And I'm not talking about Donald effing Trump. I'm talking about people across the world that we've seen actually partake in these activities, if you will. You can go ahead and venture as to who that is, including who I was just talking about. So what is it about this time period that is giving rise? Obviously it's a generation of people. Is it Gen X that is this way? Why are they this way? I would like to do research. Maybe you have an opinion, but there's clearly something here to this. There's a rise in this, and we're actively watching the destruction of Western values and not even Western values, Western civilization as you know it. Okay. I'm not talking about Israel. I know there's people out there saying like, well, if Israel falls, that's the end of Western civilization. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like actual, what used to be considered Western civilization. That's where, just think, everything that you consider, think about like academic disciplines, things like that. Those are Western constructs, sociology, history. A lot of these things as disciplines that are central to the way we think and the way we operate come from Western civilization. And you're seeing like that gave rise to things like the United States of America, the Enlightenment period, all these things gave rise to this. And you have this amazing form of government that's lasted to this day, but we're the only country in the world that has protected free speech. And what happened in post-World War II is we thought we're going to make the rest of the world like the West. We're going to make it free and democratic, and it's going to be phenomenal and great. And then what happens is we have now hit a point where that freedom is no longer a desire of the people that are running everything. They want it to be gone. They want it gone. They want it wiped off the face of the earth, don't they?
I mean, debate me otherwise, I guess. My personal take on it is like that's what's happening here. They would like for your freedom of expression to be an illusion to you. And the internet is the biggest threat to them because you can fact check them in real time. You can call them for their crap. You can have a voice that they can't do anything about. So that's why they don't like free speech platforms. That's why they go after Elon Musk, right? They don't want that. And you're not, and so when what they're doing with these mass, these policies where they're letting all these people in without the consent without the acceptance, let's say, of the people that live in these countries. There's very much something intentional about this if you're not willing to listen to the complaints of your citizens, and so much so that you're considering that a major threat, that you want people to police encrypted apps for using terms like that. That's not even, what is that? Joke. And so the EU will say things in this letter, like their letter to Elon Musk for the Trump thing. They said, well, in the EU, I'm sure that guy's like complete D-bag, but we have a protected, we very much want to ensure the right to expression and freedom of expression, but we also have to protect, there's also protected speech. So what that means is you have the right to express yourself without the right to express yourself. That's all. It's the dumbest thing ever. Hate speech laws is dangerous territory to wade into. If you ever hear young people talk about that, you need to educate them now. Nope. You live in the greatest country on earth. It's the only country on earth that has protected speech. If you're an American, mind you, if you're Canadian or something, I pity thee. But you have protected speech in the United States of America. We're the only country in the world that actually has that. We don't have hate speech laws here yet. Okay, I'm sure it'll get to that point, because when you see the French government arresting people because they run encrypted apps that they can't actively look into, they'll find any reason to do that. And it's under the guise of what? The T word. That's my opinion, my theory on a lot of why we're seeing this rise of more, I don't want to say words like totalitarian, but more tyrannical is not any better. Okay, just a little bit more strict when it comes to leadership styles, to the point where they're heading towards something extreme. Is it because it's people that came of age during the post-Soviet Union era, right? Where we no longer had the Western world no longer had the overwhelming threat of the Soviet Union, so we decided to flip it to something else. And we started a massive war on the T word, didn't we? Massive war on scary. Let's just say that's the synonym for the word. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this stuff, so I'm just trying to help. I'm thinking of me as a historian, okay? I'm just spitballing as a historian does. So we have this war on terror, right? Let's say, and this is our new enemy. It's our mutual enemy across the globe, and you have all kinds of laws signed into the books following what happened in 9/11, things like that, that actually put forth a framework for them to really crack down on what people are saying, thinking, what their communication are. And so at that time, when those laws first appeared, you had the internet, and the internet was the Wild West back then, okay? And they eventually were like, we need to really crack down on this stuff because we need to continue this fight and protecting people and safety. And so everything was about being safe. And that's what a lot of these leaders are all about, being safe. So you're talking about safety has become the most important part of society, so it would seem. Everything is being done under the guise of safety. Think about it. Trump can't be elected because he's a threat to democracy, and that would be what? Unsafe. He's dangerous. He's not. You're safe voting for us. You need to make the safe choice for women, the safe choice for Americans, the safe choice for democracy. You need to stay inside and save lives and be safe. You need to stop talking like that because it's not safe. Safety is everything. The world's not safe. There's no such thing as a safe world. No matter what people tell you they can do to make it safe for you, they can't. There's no such thing. Safety is an illusion to you. Okay? You can throw on a bike helmet and pack that thing with bubble wrap, and you could still fly off your bike, hit your head, and have a closed head injury. It's not good. You can wear all this. You could wear pads from head to guys in pro football games wear pads from head to toe, and they still they get catastrophic injuries. Safety is not reality. There are things you can do to lower your risk of having an adverse event or something, but that's just not. You can't guarantee safety, and there's nobody in the world that can guarantee that for you. It's an illusion. They're doing it. Things being done under the guise of safety are just being done as a means of obtaining power. And we've hit a time in this world where, in the name of safety, we are creating a monster. And safety, and it's what the problem is too, is safety is appealing not only to people who grew up in this era of a constant, a hidden threat. It also grew up as a very, very self-centered generation. It's a generation where my feelings matter more than anything. You see that all the time with all kinds of rules. When it comes to hate speech rules, it's protecting the psyche of me. I matter. I matter the most. He hurts my feelings. Trump offends me. I can't have him be president. You can't go out with this virus. It's a threat to me, right? That's what it is. They will say that openly. So we live in a place where we need constant safety, but the safety is all about them. They're self-centered. It's just a stupid way to live. And it's an absurd way to live, and it's childish. And we're coming to a point where a lot of these people who are getting the opportunity to lead are all that generation. We need to figure out what that is and how to not do it again, because we're at a impasse here. It's a very self-centered generation that's obsessed with being safe, and also in the name of safety, they'll do horrific things, like preemptively start wars with other nations to protect them, protect us, and then it's more safe this way. We'll just keep funding the war in Ukraine because it's more safe. It's more safe for us if we just continue this. It's safe for the United States, right? That's the mentality. So this whole thing with the government of France arresting this telegraph guy, telegram, sorry. I don't know if I can buy that there's a major underlying reason aside from the fact that he has technology that is letting people speak freely without the watchful eyes of government in their text messages all the time. And I'm telling you what, it sure feels a lot, Yep, I know. If you know people are watching your stuff at all times, you're going to police what you say, right? You're not going to say things. You're not going to go out there and spread. You're going to go out there and start some crap and try to harm people or whatever. There's that mechanism of censorship through just knowing the eyes in the sky are watching you is effective. And when people don't have that anymore, they feel more freely. They feel like they can more freely conduct themselves. And I think that's a big problem for governments that don't like that type of mindset. And the fact that you're going after them because they don't want, they say that they don't want immigration. Like, oh no. Oh my heavens, no. What the heck is the world that we live in? I mean, I never would have dreamed it would ever come to this. I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, and it was like, oh, your right to free speech is sacred. It's a sacred thing. Your ability to talk back to your government, etc. It's this amazing thing. It's like, yeah, well, what happened to that? Why did the younger, and it's like these more authoritarian or these more stringent type governments appeal more to younger generations who don't care about free speech. They've been raised to believe that free speech is a threat to their to their happiness and their psyche, and it sucks that we're living in this time. So I just like it's, if you grew up when I did, you remember the internet was a crazy place back in the day. Censorship did not happen. When social media first came out, there were all kinds of crazy. Facebook, when it first came out, you could say whatever you wanted, man. There's people that have had their lives ruined about things they wrote on Facebook years ago. And it was just more with the freedom of expression, things seemed a lot less pent up and a lot less resentful, I guess. People, they do actively throttle people from one political persuasion on Facebook. Give me a break. We're cutting back on our moderation efforts. Really? Post something critical of the government a few times and tell me if you get any action on anything you post, because I don't anymore. For a while, so it used to be your friends would interact with your posts, and then Facebook stopped being about your friend interaction and started about being a content creator, being a what's the word I'm looking for? Being a influencer, right? That's what it became about. And you start seeing now, if you scroll through a Facebook feed, it's just like people that have thousands and thousands of followers on their, like, a business page or a content creator page, posting stupid videos, and you don't see your friends post anymore. And that was the whole point of Facebook. And it comes to a point now where, like, if I post anything, I don't get any looks at it. Nobody sees it. The Facebook groups are nice to a degree, but that's about the only place I'll get any feedback on anything. And it's because, like, I would post articles about I'm obsessed with economics, so I would post articles about economics that were critical of the government narrative about it. And like after a while, I would see less and less action on anything for months and months. I would see nothing. Quite interesting, isn't it? But according to Zuckerberg, they're not actually throttling you. They're not anymore. They don't want to pick sides. It's gotten so ridiculous that if you go ahead, I want you to go on Copilot for Microsoft and ask it a question about the election, and it will say, "I'm not allowed to talk about politics on here." Like, we've come to that point. Politics is wrapped up in everything we do. How are you not supposed to talk about it? Especially on social media. Twitter is like 90% just, I mean, I guess based off my algorithm, it's like all politics, right? Most, it's pop culture. Politics is pop culture now. So it's just a fascinating and terrifying time we live in, where this has become the norm, where people are willing to just crush your freedom of expression in the name of safety. And governments are starting to become more and more they're becoming far more powerful in the regards of surveillance. And the internet was invented as a United States Department of Defense project, okay? And it's taken that road where it has become the ultimate tool of surveillance. There's been no greater intelligence gathering device in history. It's the greatest thing on earth. If you are an intelligence agency, you can track where people are going, track who they're talking to, track what they're saying, what websites. You can ruin people's lives. Okay? You can debank them. You can shut their bank accounts. You can do whatever you want online to destroy people's lives. And there's going to be a real movement to attack. They're already going to go hard after cryptocurrency, I'm sure, which they're stupid and they can't figure out. Now, Elizabeth Warren is one of the dumbest people on earth to me. I think she's just doesn't understand how anything works. And she's like, well, we need to regulate cryptocurrency. You can't do that. This is not going to work. What are they going to do about stuff like that? What are they going to do about things they can't regulate? What about decentralized systems? What about like Nostr or some of these other things? You have these people are building basically a decentralized internet, right? What are you going to do if governments can't force you to ban somebody or shut somebody down? Like, eventually they're not going to be able to do this anymore. So they're just going to have to learn to live with the reality of what the world is like. And we're coming to a point where it's like, what are you going to do? So I didn't want to talk about that for the whole time, but I did for 45 minutes at least. There were a few other things I wanted to quickly brush up on here. And find my see what I got going on in the old bookmarks file on my X here. Okay, so here we go. So Merrick Garland, just such a great guy, great Attorney General who totally just hates your guts, and especially if you're there's once again another guy who would very much love to be able to do whatever he wants to people that he disagrees with politically. And you're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to question our democracy. And what our democracy means is the establishment. You're not allowed to question it. So here's a video of this jerk off, and it's talking about, this just came out yesterday, talking about basically he threatens anybody that will question the results of the 2024 election. And yeah, bone chilling. Here we go.
I guess as a follow-up on Scott's question, you're sitting in these hearings with prosecutors and judges at the courthouse down the street. They're increasingly expressing concerns about the upcoming transfer of power and the potential danger of another January 6th. Do you share those concerns at all?
I think our prosecutions have made clear what we think about people who try to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power, which is an essential and fundamental element of our democracy. I quibble about whether we have 1,500 or slightly less than 1,500, but we have way more than 1,400 now prosecutions. We have a substantial number of convictions. I think that's shown to everybody how seriously we take an effort to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. The last January 6th, the coming January 6th, and every January 6th after that. I want to make clear to anybody who is thinking about interfering with that, they can see what we've done with respect to the January 6th prosecutions, and the Justice Department will continue to protect our democracy.
Well, there you go. You know what this means? This means you better not ever cross us again, question us again, or you're in big trouble, mister. It's like you're bragging. He's rubbing in your face the amount of people they've prosecuted due to January 6th. That fateful day. Sorry, but I heard something in here. we're at this point where it's like they talk about January 6th. Like, I've seen the Kamala campaign say like 5 or 6 cops were killed in January. That's not true. This is a blatant lie. They have this thing that's it's like a mythical buildup, and this guy is saying like, you better not cross us, or we'll make the people we made an example out of. Look at what happened to them. Lives are ruined for what they did that day. And do you think that that day will not be a deterrent for people to ever question election results again? I guarantee you it will be, because they're violating people's constitutional rights every second when it comes to that stuff. And they'll say, look, we can do whatever we want. You can't do anything about it. In Michigan, they passed a law. You're not allowed to legally question election results. You could stand there and watch somebody throw ballots in a shredder for a candidate they don't like, and you go, oh, they were thrown in a shredder, and all they can do is recount the votes that were already counted. That's all they can do. They've actually made this the law. You can't question it. That is not democracy. No matter how much you try to BS your way into thinking that somehow if you question an election, that's a major threat to our democracy. That's not. Elections. So what democracy means to these people is this elite tier of political people in this country that are untouchable, that are better than you, and they know they're better than you. Okay. That's democracy. Democracy is you get to pick these people, these elite people, to stay in this elite tier. And if you question it, you're threatening to them. Doesn't matter that elections actually belong to you and those people work for you. Like, those people that are locked up for that day, the people that are locking them up, they actually work for those people they're locking up. But it'll never be seen that way. And you are not allowed to you're not allowed to question it at all. And interesting how, well, we have a peaceful transfer of power. Okay, well, does that mean that if there is a similar event for people that are going to refuse a transfer of power from, let's say, Biden to Trump, that you will react the same way? Yeah, my freaking, give me a break, like my ass, okay? There's no way that it would be even remotely comparable in the way you treated those people. Not even close. And everybody knows that too. There's people out there talking publicly about we're just like, there's who is it? There's is a congressman or something, I can't think of his name, was saying like, well, we're just not gonna we're just not gonna certify the votes, and Trump we just won't hand it over to him. Do you think anything will happen to that guy? No. Will they even question him about it? No. If you heard that from a single Republican congressman or something, you better bet everything you have that they will be knocking on that person's door, making a public show to understand how they could dare question this precious thing. It's a joke. They know it's a joke. They know you're stupid. They think you're stupid. That you just don't care that or that you're just don't do anything about it anyways. Because look, otherwise we'll make an example out of you. They've ruined people's lives over that. Hundreds of people that did nothing more than just go inside that place that day. All right, well, before I wrap up, I wanted to talk about one thing here. So this is from Newsweek, and it's an article saying DNC TV ratings compared to the RNC. See if there's a video here. Well, I can't listen to that music anymore, but read this part right here. The music is so corny. It's like an elevator music from the 1990s. All right, so they're saying that actually it could be more people viewed it than we know. I call bullcrap for a few reasons, because when I watched Trump's RNC acceptance speech, I watched it on another content creator was presenting it, right? I didn't watch it. I don't have cable. I'm not paying for that crap, and I sure as hell would not be watching a cable news network. I saw plenty of clips during that time of the RNC to see how they were handling the whole ordeal when it came to just the whole thing, the whole RNC. And it was just bash. I mean, they did not. What else? What is CNN going to talk about at the RNC aside from how just heinous and evil Trump is, and how it was? What did you think it was going to be like? I'm not going to watch that. What self-respecting or not far leftist scumbag is going to watch that, right? Like, you were talking about, you're talking about Nielsen TV ratings that are based off, cable news viewers, not from streaming services, not from the internet, like people that have cable and watch cable. Who has cable and watches cable? Who has cable and watches cable news? Your grandma does. Your aunt does. I haven't had cable TV in probably, oh man, at least 8 years. I've had cable TV. I have not had a cable TV subscription in at least that long. I've had like streaming. I've had like YouTube TV. Every year, I'm a diehard football guy. Pro in college, I will get YouTube TV just for football, and then I cancel it as soon as the playoffs are over. That reminds me, if you would like to, Sling TV actually has a deal right now, 50% off the first month, because YouTube TV is expensive. And with Sling TV, you can get NFL Red Zone too for like, so I got it for like, it was like $35 for the month. Pretty cool. So just saying, they don't have CBS, which is stupid, but there are ways around that. On this internet here, there are ways to watch CBS Sports. If you catch my drift. Now, but like, who watches cable news? Who watches CNN if you're at the airport? If you're in a hotel, maybe? I mean, I feel ashamed, but I didn't really get into politics until, probably was after Trump. So I was a worked in pet store management forever before I became a historian and got my master's and PhD. So when I was working in pet store management, Trump had gotten elected, and it was always this talk about this guy 24/7. And then the whole impeachment stuff started to happen, and then I started to get interested in it. Before that, I was a casual politics follower, and that meant that I watched CNN. During the 2012 election, Romney and Obama, I watched CNN a lot. Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, all these people that I would not give the time of day. I would not waste 10 seconds unless it was a clip on Twitter that I was using to basically rebuke the whole thing. Because it's just so biased and so dumb. And it's just so many lies. Like, Anderson Cooper called J6 the bloodiest day since the Civil War in America. Really? Do you think so, huh? What about, I don't know, 9/11? What about, what about the shooting at Kent State? What about, You just go down, you can find so many other things that are, what about like half the other, events that have happened in just the 21st century. It's like, it's just a propaganda network that is actively campaigning for the Democratic Party. That's all that it is. I am not going to watch that. Most people I know that follow politics or that are interested in this stuff and they're not going to be supporting the freaking fake candidate that is Kamala Harris this year are not going to watch that stuff on cable television. Maybe some Fox News viewers. Everybody that I know that watches Fox News is like retired and they watch Fox News. Okay, like I don't watch it. Never have. Like my parents used to watch it back in the day. They used to watch Bill O'Reilly, actually. And Tucker, I would see his clips, but I never watched Fox News. So it's quite interesting that they're like, well, they had higher ratings. Of course they did. But they also told ratings means that more people were watching. And also they had told people that it was Beyonce was going to be there, or Taylor Swift was going to be there, or George W. Bush was going to be there. I'm sure people were really tuning in to see if it was old W there, which would have been hilarious. But George, dude, what happened to that? That guy doesn't do anything public. I wouldn't show my face either if I was him. But what a shame. I'm writing a book right now, so I'm writing several books. Civil War Medicine is a book I'm writing. I have finished, going to get published soon. I'm writing a book on the Iraq War, and I'm writing a book on, so it's basically on the neoconservatives in the Iraq War, and it's very fascinating how much George W. Bush got completely swallowed up by the neocons, and his plan on running was like, I'm going to be a smaller government guy, traditional, more conservative, and then nah, the neocons ate you alive, W. You had Dick Cheney as your VP. Wise choice. Fascinating subject. Really is. For a historian, like I could sit here and do research all day, and it fascinates me to no end. The connection between like the Reagan administration, the end of the Soviet Union, onto the Iraq War, just like the intellectual movement. It's a despicable movement, but it's fascinating to read about, considering how it got us to this point. And we still very much use these types of, this type of foreign relations, geopolitical type of strategies to this day that came out of that time period. So I don't buy it for 2 seconds that the ratings were higher. And if I do, who cares? Because they were telling people that they were going to give a free concert or something. I have a rumor. Beyonce. And if you watched that thing, I promise there were plenty of people watching that were thinking, maybe she'll say something of actual substance. Maybe when she gives her acceptance speech, we'll get an actual, a quality speech. You do realize Kamala Harris is if you think Kamala Harris is good based off her speeches and stuff, good enough to be president, then you think anybody that's ever played a president in a movie or a television show would be a good president. Because it's the same thing. She's not writing her speeches. She's acting. She goes up there, she puts on the politician facade, she's acting, and she's reciting her lines. It's no different than the guy that gives the speech on Independence Day, the president, or it's like you thinking like Harrison Ford in Air Force One would be a good president because he's good at reciting the lines of being a president. She's doing the same thing. Her talents, she may not be as talented of an actor, but she's acting. She's reading lines she didn't write. That's all she does all day. During her campaigns, she doesn't interview. She doesn't talk to the press. She doesn't debate. She's not going to debate Trump. It's not going to happen. That right now, I think that the DNC was very underwhelming for people. They are going to start freaking out and realize we are on the cusp of this whole thing spiraling out of control. And I think that her debating Trump will be catastrophic for that campaign. I really do. I think it would be the worst thing. I think that he wins comfortably as of right now based off that DNC because it was a joke. There was nothing of substance. It was an entire campaign, an entire convention where all they did was talk about Trump. That's all they talked about. For actual, I know RFK had the stat. It was like over 100 times they talked about. They said Trump's name like on night one. That's all they talk about. They don't talk about anything that matters. There's no substance there. And I did a video the other day. They were talking about, oh, well, there's far more substance to the Kamala Harris campaign than Trump's. Yeah, okay. Okay, propaganda machine. Keep printing that out. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this video here. I actually didn't feel like I was going to die tonight, which is an improvement. I must be getting somewhere. Normally I get so dizzy and sick, I can't even sit up this long. And I feel kind of good. So, that being said, I'm Dr. Jesse Roberts. This is Join or Die. I thank you for watching my rambling here. And hopefully I'll be back at you tomorrow. I really do appreciate you watching my videos, and God bless, and I hope that everybody has a safe week. It's only, well, I guess it'll probably be Tuesday when you watch this, but it's only Monday, so we got a whole week ahead of us. So enjoy your week. Bye.